Hey y'all, this is Thomas with Project Portland. We're planning a church in Portland, Oregon, and we're starting a podcast to talk about it. You can follow along. I hope you'll join us in our journey as we talk about the things that we learn while we're planting. And I have special guests, friends in ministry along, that talk about the behind the scenes of what it's like to take the gospel to a new place. Hey everyone, and welcome to Planting Portland. My name is Thomas, and I'm currently in the process of planning a church in Portland, Oregon. And we started a podcast just as a means to be able to discuss the things that we're doing. We hope it's a blessing to other people. We hope it's a blessing to our church as we just fellowship in the things that God is doing here, the lessons that we're learning. And whenever I have special guests come into town, I am sitting them down and having discussions with them as well. Most things related to ministry, to life, to things that God is doing in our life and church planning. And so today I have my friend Mark with me. Mark, you want to say hi?
Hey, I'm Mark Schaffer. We are in Tampa, Florida. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful you guys are here because you're helping us with the VBS, and today was like the last day of VBS things.
Yeah.
So, man, you guys have been tremendous. It's been a blessing for me. Like, we went on deputation and traveled to all the churches, and we have things that we took away from the different churches and unique experiences that we had in different churches. And Tampa, where you're from, was, my wife and I call it the surface of the sun.
Oh,
it was super hot. So that
it was unseasonably hot when you guys were there. It was pretty bad.
It was hot. That was like, when I think of Tampa, I just think scorched earth.
Yeah.
And then
your son busted his lip.
My son cracked his lip wide open in the pool.
Yeah.
And then that song, Be a Tree by the River or whatever.
Yeah, we're going to sing that tomorrow.
Yeah, so I have those are my like Tampa memories.
Okay.
That, your church was wonderful. Your people were awesome, but like those are like unique.
Yeah, they stamped an
events.
impression on you.
Yeah. And I'm excited to have that song here.
Yeah.
But you guys planted a church in Tampa.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have kind of a church planning podcast. We already talked about the things we're going to talk about, but why don't you bring us up to speed with where your church plant started from and how God worked in your life to begin that?
Yeah, so I'll try to make it brief, but inclusive of all the main points. My wife and I met in Kansas City, Missouri, and served in ministry together there while I was going through Bible training in our Bible Institute. And once I finished that Bible Institute training, you and I were chatting about this earlier. I won't go into all the details, but long story short, we got a call to go to Ocala, Florida, and I got ordained in the ministry and sent out within just a couple of months of each other, and we went to Ocala to be on staff at a church there and served 9 wonderful years. Well, I'd say at least the first 7 were wonderful. The last couple were a little more rough. The church was going a different direction. And one thing led to another. We got felt called to go back to Kansas City, retool, regroup, get see what the Lord had for us next. I thought that my wife is from Latin America, from El Salvador, and I have always been burdened for Spanish-speaking countries. I don't speak Spanish well, but if God would call me there, I'd had to step up my game on my Spanish-speaking. At that time, I felt a call or felt a nudge, maybe not a call. Yeah, just a nudge that perhaps we go on the mission field somewhere. And so we went back to Kansas City thinking we were going to connect to our old church that I had been ordained in, we were sent out from, but God had other plans. We got connected to Midtown Baptist Temple in Kansas City and spent 2 wonderful years there at that church. The first year, just settling in, seeing what the Lord had. And the second year was feeling a call to go back to Florida, feeling a call specifically to Tampa. My wife and I had spent vacation time back in Florida in the summer. Went back for a wedding, actually. Was officiating a wedding, and then during that time we were back in Florida. We were driving through Tampa, and it was just one of those Macedonia calls, come over and help us kind of thing. As I'm driving through Tampa, we're driving past the university, large university there, over 50,000 students, probably about 45,000 at the time, at the University of South Florida. And my heart was just burdened. And so we went back from that trip back to Kansas City. The first night we were back at a prayer service, Tuesday night prayer at Midtown. Pastor Sam Miles got up and spoke, and the first thing out of his mouth that night was, and he and I had not talked, but the first thing out of his mouth was, "Hey, we need to pray for so-and-so. He's down in Tampa, Florida tonight, speaking at the University of South Florida." And I'm like, okay, what's God doing? The stir started to turn to a burden, and that burden eventually turned to a call. But I went to Sam and just shared my burden with him, and he said, let's pray. Let's ask the church to pray. Let's see what God wants to do. And so we prayed for a year with our church, with our leaders, the ministry we were in there, and just trusting the Lord for possible church plant in Tampa. At that time, Midtown had not planted any churches. Now Midtown's 5 or 6 churches deep into planting churches, but at that time there hadn't been anybody sent out, and so we were proposing to be, the first church plant to go out of Tampa or out of Kansas City, and just shared that burden with the church. We prayed, and God confirmed just through His Word, through our leaders, through just the open doors that He was bringing in Tampa, and a year later we packed up a U-Haul and headed out to Tampa and started this crazy journey of church planting that you guys are well aware of.
It's a crazy journey.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah.
So I got a few questions about that time.
Yeah.
That's a unique time. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to fast forward in a little bit. We'll come through to the future. But in that moment, what if somebody else is considering, hey, I think I want to plant a church, and you had that Macedonian call, there's like a feel part of it. What do you say to somebody who's thinking, man, I think God wants me to do this? What's your advice to them?
Well, I think we've got to be careful with knowing what someone else's call might be. I don't want to presume that, but I think there are some indicators for me. I think, first of all, a love for a people, a love for a culture, a love for a place doesn't constitute a call.
Sure.
I've been on numerous mission trips, and in the first probably 5, 6 mission trips I went on, I came home saying, "Oh yeah, I think God's calling me to that place. I would love to go there. I love the food, I love the people, I love the culture, I would list off all the things, and fast forward, that wasn't a call. That was just a love for people, which is great. You have to start there. I think you need to love. You should eventually love the place. You don't want to be a Jonah. Where you're despising the people and the place you're going to.
Sure.
You got to work through that, but there should be a love there. But that doesn't necessarily mean a call. Maybe that love for that place and that culture, those people, is just for you to go home, start a prayer ministry or for a prayer team for that place or whatever. So I think you got to work through that love, that enamoredness you come back from a trip with, that, oh yeah, that's really cool. That would be a really cool place to minister. And starting to see that turn to a burden. I would say the next step for us was not just a love, but a burden to see a Bible-believing, disciple-making, mission-minded, church-planting church, established in a place, that burden that, okay, there's something missing there that is needed. And we started looking around at Midtown, and we knew we were loved at Midtown. We know we still are loved there, but we weren't needed in the sense that there's many other ministers at Midtown, and we didn't want to be selfish. Not that staying in a church means you're selfish. You can stay in a church and be wonderfully used there, but we didn't want to be selfish with the burden God had given us for another place. That I don't want to hinder God taking what we had there and transplanting it to another place and sharing that with another, another group of people. And so it became a burden for us. But even the burden wasn't necessarily the call for us. The burden was just, hey, this place needs a church. Doesn't mean it had to be us,
Right.
but there's a need there. There's needs everywhere, and so you feel a burden for a particular place, and you start praying. And Lord, is it me? Is it me that's supposed to fulfill that burden, or you got somebody else? Is there another plan you've got here, and are you going to use that burden? Like, I've been burdened for a lot of places. I thought my wife and I were going to be called to Cuba at one point. I felt a real strong burden for Cuba and was praying for Cuba, but God used that burden that I had for Cuba to direct us to another place. And I think sometimes that burden is just, do I have your attention? The Lord's just saying,
good.
do I got your attention? Yeah, you got my attention. Now direct me wherever you want. And so that burden wasn't necessarily the call, but there came a time. I remember a couple of specific times in the Word and talking to some other people, talking to our pastors, having conversations where I felt like, okay, this is now turning into a call, that I will be disobedient if I don't go. If I'm not the one to go, I'll be being disobedient.
Yeah.
And I had to come to that place where I knew that, yes, this is me. Here am I, send me, Lord. I know I'm the one that you're calling to go do that.
And what was the clarifying work? Was your pastors? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, the Word. God gave me a couple of passages. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. He'll make all things beautiful in His time. I was having to wait and make sure that the Lord was in it. That it wasn't just me, and proving that out. And then He gave me Jeremiah chapter 1. Jeremiah was really key in that, and I forget how it's worded. I can.
Jeremiah's the man.
Yeah, Jeremiah just rocked my world. And you know how you've read a passage before, and then you read it with different eyes. And I got to verse 10, Jeremiah 1:10. I was sharing this at the Discipleship conference we were at this last year. But Jeremiah 1:10. See, I have this day set thee over the nations, over the kingdoms, to root out, to pull down, and to destroy, and to throw down, to build, and to plant. And I just felt like, God was not speaking to Jeremiah, He was speaking to me, when He was laying this out, for me in Jeremiah 1. And then, of course, talking to our pastors. I wasn't going to go anywhere if our pastors weren't behind it, didn't see it, wasn't hearing that same call from the Lord. We were the first to go out of our sending church, and so it was a big deal. We didn't want to mess it up. We didn't want to be a dark blemish, dark cloud over the church planting of Midtown. We wanted to be an example for other church plants, and we wanted to see the Lord do a work. And so we just trusted Him for a hard work there, because we started from zero, like you guys are. We had a smaller team, I think, even than you guys did when we first landed. It was my family and one single lady, and then a few trickled in after that. But we had little to no contacts in the city. We had a few, and we were following those, and we might have done that a little differently had we done that over again, as far as trying to get a Bible study or something started, there, or at least seeing some people saved before we got there. But God was gracious in it. I wouldn't say that it was by any means wrong or failed. God was in it. We started seeing fruit, started seeing people come to the Lord and making disciples, and it was slow, very slow. Ours was. Planting a church with disciple making is a slow roll,
Yeah, let's talk about that part.
Yeah.
What does it look like to make disciples in your church? People listening might have discipleship's a buzzword.
Yep.
And we know we want to make disciples of Christ to help people walk with Jesus, but what does that look like for Living Faith Tampa?
Yeah, now or in the early days?
When you say discipleship, what do you mean by that? And then, go back to that early time. You said it was slow.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an identifying word for discipleship. It's
Yeah.
not a fast
Yes.
process, which is probably why people don't do it the way we do it.
Yeah.
So go back to that time and just kind of explain that to us.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure we were discipling our first disciples well, discipling them deep, making sure that they got the heartbeat of the ministry that God was calling us to do. We knew what our mission was. We knew the word, so we wanted to make sure our disciples knew that mission well. Also, that we weren't just we work disciples through a set of lessons and are very intentional about establishing them and sound doctrine and all of that but we wanted to make sure it wasn't just that, that we were discipling them on a doctrinal level, discipling them on a relational level that we talk. I think you and I were talking about today. We talk about life and lesson. We want to make sure we're connecting with them where they are, but also connecting them to the Word. And so we wanted to disciple deep, spend time with them. My typical role is 9 months to maybe a year and 3 months, somewhere in there, a year and 3 months of working through with a disciple, not trying to just rush them through lessons, rush them through a curriculum, but they're catching the heartbeat, catching the DNA, the vision of the ministry, and so we wanted to do that well in the early days and answer a lot of important questions that our disciples were asking, and that to me that was the hardest part of church planting is how do you establish disciples when you don't have a structure yet.
No culture,
there's no culture built there. There's no DNA that they can see. We're talking about our sending church, but they can't see that. They don't know them. They can't really catch that long distance. And so we're trying to help them see that. And, even after you finish a set of lessons with your disciple and you've invested a lot of time and energy into them, there's still some of that they're still catching, as you're discipling the next one, they're okay. Now I'm seeing with different eyes, and then they start to disciple somebody, and now they're seeing with different eyes, and so everybody is just catching it piece by piece, And so it takes time. Especially when we're planting as far away as we were. Obviously we're not international church planting. We were in the U.S., but we can't just drive down the street and see the church where we came from, Yeah. And so, we just wanted to make sure we were giving them the whole counsel of God, giving them the big picture, and not just giving them a microcosm of what they need to see, but help them see the big picture. Yeah.
Well, that's where we are. Our first round of disciples. I'm a slower disciple maker than you, so I'm not on the 9-month track.
Well, and I say 9 months. I don't know that I've ever made it through 9 months with any of my disciples. I think that's pie in the sky for me too. I think 1 year is typical. I've had a couple of my disciples, one in particular, that was wonderful, and he's still a faithful man in our church, and it was probably a year and a half for us. And so I don't put a time frame on it. I know we've had some who have discipled quicker just because of schedules and time. We have a lot of college students, and a lot of them have a lot of free time. And if you're discipling a college student, you can be consistent. We're going to meet this time every week, and they're there. They have the availability. Sometimes adults, married folks that have lives and families and jobs and all of that don't have that kind of capacity, and so it might be a little slower. I don't think I've been under a year in any of mine. But
I don't think I've been under 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not intentionally. Like I value we talk about life and lesson.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier with discipling guys that are maybe have a distance between you or something.
Yeah.
And I so value that time together where it's like, hey, you need the lesson, but you also need to come with me. I'm doing this thing. Just watch me be a part of this stuff. And one of my disciples here has really And just today, he was telling me he led someone to Christ this last week.
Yeah.
And he said, in my head, I just kept thinking about all the stuff that you would say. I was like, praise the Lord that you're listening, man.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure when those moments were. Like, I don't remember telling him exactly how to do that, but he is observed. And we need to have that time where they're around us. So for me, I think also if you're looking at like the 5 love languages, I'm a quality time person. So I just am like, be near me. We'll figure it out. We'll get to the lesson. And, we fall on either side of that. Obviously, that doesn't become discipleship if we're just hanging out all the time, because discipleship requires the lesson and learning, the teacher and the student relationship. And if you're not investing God's word into somebody, I don't know that you can call it discipleship.
No.
So we need both. I'm too heavy on the one side, and my other disciple now has been asking me, hey, when are we meeting? Hey, when are we meeting? So he's trying to up the pace for our relationship. And so I love that when a disciple is the one that starts to say, hey, we're not meeting enough. Like, we need to get together. Like, I want more. Let's go. I want to finish this. I want to make a disciple one day.
Yeah.
So I think that's sweet. I need that boost, I think, because with all the things in church planning, it's easy to get distracted and not be investing in your key people.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the biggest joys, I think, in disciple making for me has been when you see that turn in your disciple, where it's not just about them wanting your investment into them, but a light bulb comes on for them, and now they start seeing their need to invest in others, or even in you. At the early going in disciple making, you're sitting down with your disciple and you're asking them about their day and or their week, and what can I pray for you, and how are you, where are you struggling, and what's God teaching you, and I'm drawing things out of them, but then for not all of my disciples, but several of them have gotten to a point in discipleship, they're like, well, what about you? What's God doing in you?
Sweet, yeah.
And you see that light bulb come on for them that I'm supposed to be a minister. This isn't just about somebody investing in me. Yeah. I've got to get ready. And we talk about this regularly with our disciple makers, as you need to be talking about them making a disciple early on in the discipleship process. Yeah. That this is where we're headed. I'm not just interested in teaching you some things. I want to be intentional about giving you some things that you're then going to be intentional to make sure you give those things to someone else. The things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men. Make sure you are thinking that way as we're going through this. Yeah. That it's not just, oh, this is so nice that I can sit with you and you answer all my Bible questions and pray for me and come alongside me when I need something, I don't want to be a Bible guru for anybody. I want to help other people be a biblicist themselves and a disciple maker themselves, and you're working people to be independent, dependent on the Lord, but independent of you, And
I think that's an incredible goal of discipleship that counters the experiential kind of Christianity that just says come into a service, feel good, and leave, which keeps us in a job of always being the guru that's helping you. And, there's place for that. There's time for preaching, and pastors have specific roles for sure. Yeah. But I love that you want people to experience God's word, to be confident in it, and not just confident, but to be able to teach it to somebody else. Yeah. And that's next level. Whenever you're the one responsible, where you're fielding the questions, you're having to do the preparation. I mean, that continues to grow a disciple even after, we're done with the one-on-one part. They have a whole path of growth ahead of them for that part. Yeah. If Jesus didn't make disciple makers, we wouldn't be here. He didn't just make disciples. He made disciple makers, people who at some point the light bulb turned on. I think it was that moment in Acts chapter 1, they're looking up into heaven and seeing Jesus depart, and then they're like, oh man, what am I going to do now? Right. This is real now. Jesus is gone. You and I were talking earlier today about a man who invested a lot in my life, and I'm standing at his deathbed and knowing that baton is now being passed to me. I was serving in ministry and doing things before he died, but when it came to standing at his deathbed and I came to that realization that, okay, this is kind of an Elijah, Elisha moment, that
he's gone, and I've got to, if this is going to continue, it's going to have to continue with me. And that's the urgency that's missing in a lot of churches, I think, today, is that there's no urgency to pass the things that are given to you on to others. And
you can feel it. Like, I don't know how many churches you've been in lately, because you're killing it in Tampa, but deputation is such a beautiful thing. It's a challenging thing, but a beautiful one, to be able to take so many things away from churches. And as a pastor, I think sometimes you can kind of take an assessment of how are things going, what are the people saying, and what's it like in this place. And you can get kind of a field test for what's the training process like here. And you can get a sense when there isn't anything beyond experiential kind of things. There's no ownership and there's no next level training. And I don't want to say it's sad, because praise God they have a church, but like you can feel that the next steps aren't there.
Yeah, people get stuck. Yeah, and they're just church mode. They're just very inward focused, and lose that urgency for the mission. Yeah. But it's hard work investing in people. I mean, it's sometimes easier just preach a message and go home than to no doubt wrestle people down on issues in their life and field their questions and be with them in difficult moments. And that's the work of making disciples. Yeah. And we have to keep that drive out in front of us. Otherwise, and I think that is part of church planting. If churches stop planting other churches, then you lose that drive. It's kind of, I always liken it to parenting. You parent, and then you grandparent, and you go kind of, in a sense, you go through all the pains of parenting through your kids again. And church planting should feel that way. That we've planted a church in Tampa, but I don't want to be satisfied with that. I want to be a parent, I want to plant another church, and then I want to see that church plant churches and be able to have that kind of investment in others. And so, God willing, we want to be that in Tampa. I don't think, the saying is, you don't measure parenting by how your kids turn out. You measure parenting by how your grandkids turn out. Wow. Because then you'll see how you did in your parenting with your kids and how they're going to be with their kids. And I think that's true in church planting and in disciple making. Don't measure how you did with your disciple until they make a disciple. You may not really know how you did as a discipler. And so,
man, that's incredible. That's a lot. What about, where do you get these disciples? So if we go back to your time in Tampa, you're trained, you're sent, God's call on your life, you're doing it. You're outreaching people, you're getting disciples, you're making disciples. But where did you get your first batch of disciples from? Like when you hit the ground, you got to reach people. So where did you begin with your relationships?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a batch. I'd call it a
one
sprinkle.
At a time. Sprinkle.
Yeah, we always would try to celebrate, the small victories. And so when we had our first disciple, that's a celebration. And we had another disciple, and when we got to the point where we had maybe 4 or 5 of us discipling, we're like, whoa, we're making disciples now. But then it really got exciting when we started seeing our disciples make disciples and seeing second and third generation. And now I think we're to the point, maybe even in 4th generation of disciple making at Tampa, where we've been able to see that reproduce. And so I wouldn't say it ever came like in a wave for us. For us, it was just amazing how it would always work is we'd have this many disciple makers, and God would give us this many disciples. Right. Yeah. And then we needed more more people would be ready for discipleship. And now these people were ready to disciple them. And so it was incremental for us, very slow, incremental disciple making. But now we're seeing, multiple disciples being made. And
where did you find let's say your first disciple?
Yeah, my first disciple, I was the one to disciple first. It was just a weird circumstance that brought this in. So maybe I could tell the story this way because it is kind of a cool story. So I'll try to keep it brief. But our sending church, Midtown Baptist Temple, we had good friends there, Dell and Serene Thomas. Dell and Serene worked with us in the college ministry under Dan Renault and was leading the college ministry. We were all working together, and Dell and Serene are dear friends of ours. And so we got this burden for Tampa, started praying for Tampa, and Dell and Serene were like, hey, we know a guy that used to live in Tampa.
Yeah.
He's not there any longer, but he's got a lot of contacts there. You should reach out to this guy. His name was Lance. I never met Lance in person. Never knew him, but I sent him an email, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've got a couple of friends in Tampa that you should meet. One a guy named Jason, and another guy named Otis. You should call these guys, and next time you're in Tampa, try to set up something. They'd be happy to meet with you." And they'd played football together at the University of South Florida. They were teammates, and he knew they were believers, and said they might be good guys to talk to. And so I set up appointments with Jason and Otis. I went to Tampa and met with both of them, and even after we ended up moving to Tampa, kept some relationship with them and would stay in contact. And so at one point I needed a mechanic because, church planters don't have brand new cars. Right. They have beat up cars that need work on them. And I had a 2000 Honda CRV that needed work all the time. And so I called Jason and said, Jason, do you know any good mechanics? He said, yeah, you should go see this guy named Sam. He's a believer. He'll take care of you. He's a good man. And so started taking my car to Sam and take it into his shop. And while my car was getting worked on by one of his mechanics, he would ask me to come in his office and we'd sit down and talk. He said, so you heard planting a church. Tell me about that, oh, you're making disciples. What does that mean? What's discipleship for you? And I was explaining all this to him, and he said, you know what? We got a guy in my church. He's actually one of our pastors that needs what you're talking about. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, he is just a young pastor, and he doesn't have anybody investing in him. And he didn't say this way, but he was like, he needs help, and so would you meet with him? And I said, well, I'm happy to meet with him, but when it comes to discipleship, I don't know that I'm going to be able to help him in that regard. And he said, well, just share with him what you've been sharing with me, and we'll see where it goes. And so we went to lunch, sat down with his pastor, Josh, and started talking about discipleship. And Josh is just zeroed in. I'm telling him about the philosophy of discipleship, just laying out what discipleship is and our philosophy of disciple making and what we were called to come to Tampa to do and all of that. And so we finished the lunch. Sam left early, and it's just Josh and I there. And we finished the lunch, and I finished sharing all of that. And Josh said, okay, I'm in. And I'm like, what do you mean you're in? He said, I'm in. I want to be discipled. I want to do what you're talking about. And I'm like, bro, I can't do that. I said, you're a pastor at another church. I said, I don't have any authority to pull you away from your local church, and I don't want to, do that, undermine your pastor and all of that. And he said, well, what if I talk to my pastor? Right. And I said, well, the only way I would do it, if your pastor is agreeable to do it, I would be willing to help you with discipleship and show you what discipleship is and walk you through how we disciple. And so you can then take that to your church and you can make disciples there and share that vision, that philosophy of disciple making there. And I said, I think that's the best I can do for you. I don't know what else to tell you. And he said, well, let me talk to my pastor. And he did, and came back and said, my pastor said, great. He said, if you want to invest in me, he said, go for it. I said, crap, what do I do now?
How do you disciple another pastor?
What's going to happen with this? This is weird. And so we started meeting, and I discipled him. We spent over a year together, meeting every week in, week out. In the process of us going through discipleship, the elders of their church, which I don't know what that really meant in their church, but they had a group of people that kind of were the governing body of their church, and they fired his pastor. And I said, Josh, I don't know what God's doing there, but you're not ready to be a senior pastor. If they ask you, do not. I said, I can't tell you what to do, but I'm telling you, you're not. I wouldn't touch that if I were you. So he didn't, and he stayed at that church for a little while. Long story short, he went on a mission trip with us to London.
Yeah.
To visit the Clarks,
Yeah.
Brian and Mindy Clark and their family in London, and came back from that trip. And he had been offered another job or a job as a pastor up in Virginia, I think, and came back from meeting with that pastor, and he said, I'm here to tell you, I'm not taking that job. I want to come to your church, not because I'm running from something. He says, I'm running to something. I want to be a part of what this church plant is doing and making disciples. And so long story short, he ended up at our church. We just ordained him in January to be our second pastor. And he's helping us make disciples.
Sweet.
And just doing a bang-up job with...
so you never know who God could give you.
You never know.
Where they'll be in the future.
Yeah.
You're just investing in people.
Yeah. Church planters out there, I don't recommend that model of church planting, of making disciples. But we just follow what God wants to do. And, I don't think there's any mold that we can just say it's always going to end up being this way or that way. My other disciple, and Josh might have actually been my second one. I'm trying to remember if he was the first or second, but there's another guy that I met through the same guy. So Jason got me connected to Sam, the mechanic, who got me connected to Josh. But Jason also connected me to this guy named Brian. And Brian might actually have been my first disciple. I'm trying to remember who came first, Brian or Josh, but Brian and I met, went through discipleship together. He was already at another church, but I met him at a dinner, and we were sharing our stories at this dinner, and everything he was saying, he was just crying out for somebody to invest in him. He said, I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a believer. I come from a Jewish background, but I don't have any idea, and he was basically, everything he was saying was just crying out for somebody invest in me, And so I talked to him afterwards, and he said, man, I would be happy to meet with you. And so we started going through discipleship as well. And took him 5 years to get connected to our church. He just came to our church maybe 4 years ago.
5 years. What does that mean?
So we finished discipleship, and he kept going to the church that he was at.
Church.
Yeah.
Okay.
And eventually didn't continue going to that church, was struggling. His wife's not a believer still. And so he was just conflicted there for a while about how to be plugged into a church when it's just him. And so, but the Lord's done a marvelous work in him and continues to, he's making disciples now in our church.
Yeah.
He's just got paired up with a guy just in the last month where he's just getting started with another guy in our church. And so,
that's sweet.
Yeah. So you never know. You never know how God is going to do it. We don't put God in a mold, I wouldn't have imagined that's how I would get my first couple of disciples, and both of those guys were ones that came already as believers.
Yeah.
But we have others that we've gotten to lead to the Lord and got to see them, be trained up in the ministry.
Yeah.
And so our heart and our aim is in church planting is we're not aiming to pull people from other churches. That's just how it worked out in those two instances. But our goal is let's win people to Christ. Let's see disciples made that we have personally won to Christ, and that's still our focus. And so we do a lot of evangelism, not like you guys are doing. Not as
We're
often
crazy
as you
because
you guys.
It's really me, right? So I've heard someone say churches take on the personality of their pastor.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a bold, aggressive, hey, do you want to talk about Jesus, yes or no, kind of personality. So that's what everyone in my church doesn't know any different. Don't tell them any different.
I need that though, and that's one of the reasons why I love coming to places like Portland and being connected to you is that's not my strength, and I think I get the benefit of being here. I've been to London, worked with Brian Clark. He's put together similar.
Yeah.
And it just sharpens me. I appreciate that. Being on the streets here is not my comfort, to do that. But man, I want to do the work of an evangelist, and I want to help our church do that. And so, no, it's been a blessing for us.
Well,
here.
and maybe it doesn't work everywhere. I know you guys do it on a university campus as well.
Yeah.
So if here we just go out on the street and we just try to engage people. We have a tract trying to get to the gospel.
That's harder to do in Tampa. We don't have a street so much. I mean, we could go downtown. There are some opportunities downtown, and we haven't really leaned into that because it's a little far from our church.
Yeah.
And so it's different for us, I guess.
Hub.
Yeah. And in Tampa, it's hard to find hubs. We don't have a train system, or most people are commuters in cars, and we've gone to parks. We've done evangelism in parks where we've gone out and talked to people in different parks in our community, but. The college campus has been consistently our best place to go and to evangelize, to meet people, to
let's hear more about that. We know we talked about discipleship, which is incredible. I don't know why I didn't expect this in our conversation, because I think your church is doing great at it. And just for me, like I said before, taking an assessment of different churches when I was traveling, I totally got that sense in your church that disciples are making disciples. And we would sit down to dinner, people would say, this person discipled me, and this is who I'm discipling. And that was just a natural part of the life of your church. And I love that. I think that was awesome. So I don't know why I wouldn't have expected that. I have the utmost respect for you and your discipleship ministry. But when we think about evangelism, it doesn't have to look the same everywhere. Like, not everyone's going to be able to do what we do. Not every place has a downtown place to go get out in the pedestrian traffic and try to stop people. And an example of that is I went through a church in Kansas, and I remember driving into this church and seeing just fields and openness and houses with really long driveways, and just thinking, my heart kind of broke. Like, how would you reach all these people? They're so spread out, and just to walk up their driveway, I mean, how many houses could you hit at one time? And I ended up going to that church, and it's Brian Hedges' church.
Oh, yeah.
And just a part of being in their conference, they had some meeting after service about, I don't remember what they call it, beat the streets or something. And they had a plan, and they had a map of their community, and they were like door knocking everywhere. And I was blown away. Like, I didn't think it'd be possible to do that. It's so spread out. But you can adapt evangelism to wherever you are. Yeah. And you can just maybe find the hub of activity if possible. If not, you just got to go find people.
Yeah.
So what's you guys' main evangelism outreach, or ways that people are getting connected to your church?
So some natural, some, intentional, I would say. The natural ones are, let's make sure we're
of course,
talking to people in our neighborhoods, our workplaces, our schools, and wherever our circle of influence is, let's be inviting people in to, sharing the gospel, but inviting them to Bible studies. Our Bible studies are very evangelistic, so we're always inviting people to come to Bible study. And so for us, that's probably our biggest point of evangelism, is through our Bible studies. Our college ministry, just by nature of college ministry, you're hanging out, you're doing a lot of things just organically, when we get into married life and have families, some of that organicness evaporates. We have to work at it harder. But for our college ministry, it's very organic, and they hanging out, inviting a friend to hang out, inviting people over, and so evangelism is very relational. But then our intentionality is, let's go on the campus too. We're meeting. We know these people, but let's go meet some people we don't know. And let's be intentional. Let's get on the campus and just talk to people that are complete strangers to us. We have groups come into town. We'll go to a park or downtown, or we've gone to different areas of our community. We've done beach evangelism. We've done. There's a Greek community in our northern part of Tampa that's like 75% Greek in this community, and so we've gone in there and tried to witness to Greeks.
Yeah.
Dude, if you've never done that,
Yeah.
that's
What's that like?
like Portland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really hard.
My people. We need a mission trip to Tampa.
It's hard soil. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There's one guy. We were with. I was with Blake Sidebottom. I don't know if you know Blake. Blake
Okay.
is
Yeah.
Brooke Sidebottom's brother, and Blake was witnessing to this older Greek man, and Blake's sharing the gospel to him, and he said, "Are you trying to tell me about Christianity?" And he said, "The Greeks invented Christianity." Said, "You can't tell me anything." And he was really offended that we were sharing the gospel with him because he already had it all figured out. And so, so that was an interesting. It was a very interesting community. So we went there a couple times, did some evangelism. We've done different places of our city, but consistently the university campus and a few parks. Is where we'll go.
Yeah.
And we want to keep that heartbeat. We're trying to increase that temperature for the rest of our church. So we'll do canvassing of neighborhoods around our church as well. We've done a lot of that where we go door to door and not necessarily knocking on doors, just doing door hangers. And a lot of people are out walking in their neighborhoods in Tampa. There's not a lot of like walk in a downtown setting, but people are like out.
Subdivisions.
People are out in subdivisions. There's a lot of movement in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Especially certain times of year. So we'll go out in neighborhoods and canvass neighborhoods and talk to people as we're walking in the streets, and so we try to be intentional about that.
Well, don't feel like you have to be us, man. I mean, for us, 5 years, we might be doing different stuff than we're doing now.
Sure.
Just for me, as a Bible student, whenever it came time to church plant, was like, well, we go confront people with the gospel. That's preaching the gospel, right? So that's all we've ever done. But I want to learn from you guys. And I had Blade Spiza on recently talking about Bible study. So I don't want to totally rehash all of our conversation that's available for people to listen to. But we are learning how to do Bible study right now as a means of inviting people into an environment where we can have questions. When we're on the street, it's good for trying to hit a bunch of people. Yeah. But you really can't have important dialogue or build a relationship on the street very well. So that's a means that we are trying to figure out right now. Yeah. I'd love to see that multiply and for us to have homes and offices and different places for that. Yeah. But if we fast forward a little bit to today, you started with discipleship one-on-one, just a couple guys. God's growing you. You have campus outreach. You've got Bible studies. What's a snapshot of your church today? Maybe you could give us like an overview, how long it's been, what the numbers have been like, just what God's currently doing in Tampa. Yeah.
Well, we're just continuing to make disciples one at a time. So I think our current, I'm probably going to get the numbers wrong. We're somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 people involved in discipleship one right now.
Is that 15 pairings or?
15.
Oh,
15
awesome.
to 20 pairings, somewhere in there.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So we're trusting those to turn into disciple makers through Discipleship 2. So our next level is Discipleship 2, which is class room. It's a 2-semester class, and our goal there is to train leaders to prepare people to be disciple makers, help them to be established as leaders that have good character, leaders that have a good handle on the Word of God, leaders that know how to share their faith and lead Bible study and how to make a disciple. And so we're training them in leadership level things. And then once they come through Discipleship 2, we're looking to apprentice them in discipleship where they can come alongside somebody else and learn to be a disciple maker. And that apprenticeship takes different forms for us. Sometimes it's all the way through apprenticeship if they need that time to really get their feet on the ground of how to make a disciple. Some, they're a shorter apprenticeship, and we do some where they're coached. We do coaching where hey, they're ready to make a disciple now. They just need somebody to kind of walk along with them and coach them a little bit.
Wow.
So we have some different forms of that, of what that looks like. But our goal is for them to start making disciples with us, and so we've got. I think this fall we've got maybe another 10 to 15 that are looking to go into discipleship too.
Wow.
And then,
That's incredible. So you start with 1 or 2, but now you have 15 people doing what you did, investing in 15 other people.
Yeah.
So that's multiplication. That's not math or addition. That's still math. But it's multiplication. It's the kind of math we want, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just incredible. An incredible example of what, like, I want to be like you guys when we grow up as a church in Portland. In what period of time, and that may not be the same for everybody, right? We don't get to brag or boast. God does what he does. We're just trying to be shepherds and stewards of that. But what period of time from then to now, how long has that been?
From our first...
From like when you started to now.
Okay. Well, we moved to Tampa in the fall of 2013. What I consider planted, actually, our church was commissioned and planted in January of 2017. So it was at that time we got a location to start meeting and gathering our disciples, the people that we had at that point together and meeting. And so that started in 2017. And then we started praying for a new place of our own to meet, because as we were in that space, for about a little over 5 years. We're outgrowing that space and just asking the Lord what was next and where we continue to multiply, make disciples. And so God gave us we were meeting in a Korean church. So that was our connection with you guys, as gracious Korean pastor just welcomed us in with open arms and allowed us to do whatever we wanted to do pretty much. Every time I would go to Pastor Kim, I'd say, Pastor Kim, is it okay if we do this? And he would say, no problem. Hey, that was his standard answer. No problem. You want to do this? No problem. And so he was so gracious with us, and we're just so thankful for their investment in us.
Yeah.
And so we were there for about 5.5 years, making disciples, just seeing the church grow slowly there. The church, the Korean church, was farther away from the university than we wanted to be, because we had a lot of connection with students, and students were having to drive about 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes to get to our place. And so kind of similar for you to go from, out to where you guys meet, which is probably maybe even shorter than what it was for some of our students. And so we did that for about 5 years, and then God gave us a piece of property that was halfway. Like, you could almost put it on a map from where the Korean church was to the university. Halfway between those two, God gave us this property that we're on, and that was a whole God story.
Yeah.
But we moved in there. We bought that property in 2022, and we moved in February or March of 2023, and been there a couple of years now. So
Sweet.
we have just seen that be it was a more centrally located, and so some folks that were wanting to connect with us but didn't know if they could consistently be connected where we were able to start connecting more consistently. We don't base ministry around a location. We want to base it on making disciples and letting God work out the other details. But we prayed specifically for a better location, a place that we could be closer to the university. God gave us that. And so we feel like we're in a great spot as far as just location wise. We're more suburban. You've been to our place. We're more of a suburban church.
You have a lovely spot.
Yeah. It's great. We're 10-minute drive to the university campus. We're about 10-minute drive to downtown, and so we're in a good spot.
Yeah, outside of the grass being on fire, I mean, your place is awesome.
Yeah, it was so hot when you were there, and it was unseasonably hot. Like you should have seen the pictures. We had some pictures from that time you were there at our conference, and on the grass in our back lawn, it was just all brown.
Yeah.
Fast forward just 1 month, like 3 weeks, even 2 or 3 weeks after you left, lush green, because we just got dumped with a ton of rain after you left. But it was so hot and so dry when you were there, which was not typical for us.
Well, we were living in an RV at the time, so
it was bacon.
Hot box, man.
Oh, it was bacon.
Which we stayed with one of your families, who was awesome. But we went to vacation shortly after that and just sweated. The whole time. And I think at the RV park, there was a brownout. And so all the ACs, couldn't handle it. And the electricity went out. You wake up in the middle of the night hot. But Florida was beautiful. We went to the park that's near you guys, southwest DeSoto. Is that right? Fort DeSoto?
Oh, Fort DeSoto. Yeah.
It was beautiful, man. The water just felt like I was in another country, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, Fort DeSoto is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I loved Florida, man. I loved your church. I'm glad you guys are there, so I don't have to be because it's too hot for me. But your church is sweet and definitely an example of your heart as we hear it, for discipleship.
Yeah.
And to have multiplied yourself into 15 disciple makers plus some and more training and all of that. I mean, that's exemplary for us. And so I would say a short period of time from 17 to now is 8 years or so to be self-sufficient, ordaining a second pastor. Obviously, God gave you a head start on the second pastor was already a pastor and all that. But man, I love your church. You guys are doing great. And I hope that, what we talked about is beneficial for others. If nothing else, to get a snapshot into what does one-on-one personal discipleship look like? How do you steward a ministry where that's the norm? And how do you grow people to have enough capacity to invest in another person? Those are all things that happen on purpose. That doesn't happen on accident.
Right.
And if you don't make the structure of your church that way, it's going to be hard to change it to that later. Right? We've seen churches adopt personal discipleship, and it takes time to rebuild the culture. So
turning that ship is hard.
So if you can start from the beginning like you're doing, it's not sexy work. It's under the hood. The little victories are harder to see, man. Hey, this guy's just reading his Bible every day, man. Praise the Lord. Hey, this dude just made a decision for the Lord in this area of his life. Those things, they're not big, huge numbers of gatherings, but they are just as important.
It's been a morsel at a time for us. We have not ate the whole elephant at once, for sure. We haven't had big crusades of crowds come in all at one time. It's been one disciple at a time, one person led to the Lord at a time, and by God's grace, that's what we want to continue to do. We're not trying to be the sexiest church in town. We just want to be faithful and do what He told us to do. Be obedient to what He asked us to do. I'm not a charismatic guy. I'm not going to attract, people with my charisma, that's not me. I just want to be genuine. I want to be faithful and real and just keep doing the work, keep being willing to show up every day. Here am I, Lord. Do what you want to with us and through us. And if we'll just keep doing that, it'll be God at the end. We'll be able to look back and say, God did this. I know it's not me that did it. God did it. And that's what
I love that about you, man, that it doesn't have to be flat, because it encourages us. We're all trying to figure out, if people are listening to this, they're likely interested in the subject matter, right? We're trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we do it well? And there are books that'll tell you how to do things, and some things are supposed to be flashy and expensive, and this will gravitate people to you. And really, we just need to be faithful. And I think you're an example of faithfulness, one soul at a time, and just slugging that out, and then let God have a trail of blessing follow you, through that. So,
praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Well, it's been awesome, man. Thanks for taking the time. I know our trip has kind of been busy the whole time, and we're doing things before and after this. But being the only guy, at least we get to hang out.
It's been great. I've needed that, because we brought all ladies on this trip. It's just me and the ladies. My wife is with me, thank the Lord. I wouldn't have taken a trip with just a bunch of single ladies, but thank thankfully, my wife was able to be here. But it's been wonderful to be able to connect with you, so this is my first time to Portland, and so catching a heartbeat for what you guys are trusting the Lord for here. We're in the Portland Trailblazer shirt today.
You could have been wearing magic mushrooms, man.
Yeah. Well, next time.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being like an encouragement to me, a supporter, a friend, and an example. This is only strengthening our relationship, man. So I don't know when I'll be in Tampa next, but I love you guys.
You're welcome anytime. Come in the winter when it's not so hot.
Right. Come when there's no hurricanes.
Well, when you guys are suffering through dreary days
That's
here,
that's true.
Take a sunny trip to Florida.
Is there a direct? We'll have to see if there's a direct flight to Tampa.
We didn't get one, but maybe.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good because here they say you need to escape and get some sunshine somewhere in January, February.
Yeah.
Get your personality back online.
Your vitamin D and
Yeah. Well, man, I've enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, if you enjoyed this time, we're just talking about church planning and ministry. I hope that you'll tune in for more. Check us out online, wherever you find these things. I'm sure there will be links and information and all of that. But we're planting a church in Portland, Oregon. We hope you follow along. If you're in Portland and you're local, come and see us. You can find all our stuff online. Join us for a worship service. If you don't have anyone discipling you, like Mark said, and you want someone to invest in your life, we want to invite you into that. We want to make disciples and make disciples. And so come and join us. And until next time, see y'all later.